I went from a newborn to an infant, and now I would say I'm at toddler phase. Hey y'all, so at 9 months post-op, I would say I was learning to walk on my own. From the first month, or should I say the first day, to maybe 3 months post-op, I would consider that like a newborn phase. And then from 3 months to 6 months, I would consider that infant phase. You're still very new. And from 9 months and beyond, or maybe from 9 months to maybe even my 12-month mark, which I'm not at yet, I would say I'm a toddler in toddler phase. You know how it is in toddler phase. You're trying to be a whole lot more independent, learning to walk and do things on your own, feeding yourself. You know pretty much how much to eat and when you get full and things like that. So you're trying to find your footing and learn more about yourself at that phase. So that's what I would liken the 9-month post-op mark to for me. There were not many major changes. There were a few, but at this point I stopped noticing the major changes per se, except for a couple. One of those I would say was a huge milestone, and it was around this time. I don't think it was exactly 9 months, but it was between like my 8 and 9 month mark. That was when I made it to Wonderland. So that was definitely a huge milestone for me during the 9-month period, that I was overjoyed. At first I was definitely numb, because for whatever reason in my mind I just didn't think. Pause. Okay y'all, I'm back, and I apologize for any change in sound, but I realized a few minutes into the video that I did not have my microphone on. So if it sounds different at this point from the beginning, I apologize, because I'm not going back to record it. But I believed I left off talking about my making it to Wonderland milestone. That was a huge milestone during the 8-9 month period for me. And I think I was saying that I didn't really, for whatever reason, I just didn't fathom that as something possible for me, because I had been in the twos for so long. Or the tools 200s, I mean, were my comfort zone, but not really my comfort zone, if you understand what I mean. It's just where I had become accustomed to being, whether that was at the higher end of, or should I say the midpoint of the twos, to either like the low point of the twos, like 215, 220, 220, 240, or between 215, 220, 240. That was kind of like my comfort zone. My low end for me was 215. My comfort area was like 220, 240, and I knew that was a familiar place for me. I had not been out of the twos for so long that I just did not think it was possible. So when I made it to Wonderland, especially after reaching over 300 pounds, it just blew my mind. So everybody has a different emotional response, and I'm a Gemini, so sometimes I'm extremely emotional. Other times I'm just as numb and callous, and you just really never know what you're gonna get with me, and I didn't even know how to respond. It was just a numbness. So anyway, back to other milestones at this point. A huge thing that I noticed around this time was a change in my shoe size. Like, I've always had what I call short fat feet. I've always had short fat feet, or for at least as long as I could remember. But during this time, my feet were visibly much smaller and narrow and slim to me. As a matter of fact, my shoe size, or the majority of my shoes, were 9.5 wide. They all had the little W in them, or most of them had the W in them, because I had short, fat, wide feet. So I was so shocked at the way my feet started to look. I didn't take any pictures. You know, I used Instagram as my visual diary, but I didn't take any pictures of my feet, I don't think. But I mean, I could just remember, you know, around this time still trying to wear some of my older shoes. I got rid of so many in addition to so many of my clothes, but I would literally be walking and the shoes would come off. Like, I would walk out of the shoes because they had become like so wide, so big. So now I'm down to like a 8.5 regular. There's no W's in my shoes anymore. So yeah, that was a huge change for me, like the foot size, because usually when people think of weight loss, you really don't think of losing so much weight in areas like your feet. Usually if you lose weight, your feet are usually still the same size for the most part, but it becomes like dramatic when your shoe size change. Now you know you're doing something when them shoe sizes change. So that was one of the huge changes for me, or noticeable changes during the 9-month mark for me. Another thing was I could eat more, but that's a given. As I stated in other videos of mine, I reassessed where I am in terms of eating every 3 months, you know, and I would usually have a gauge in terms of whether or not I'm getting or my internal gauge is whether or not I'm getting hungrier, or if I exceed my calorie limit in my fitness pal, you know, that would usually let me know. So at this point, of course, I'm eating more. In fact, I felt a sense of normalcy per se when I would go out to eat, the few times that I did go out to eat, because now it didn't seem like I was taking 1 or 2 bites and then I would be stuffed. I would still get full very quickly, and I'll see if I can insert a picture from around the 9-month mark when I went out to eat, and just how much I could eat. But what's considered a traditional restaurant portion, you know, in the past when I could normally devour an entire meal, an appetizer, a dessert, and a drink, now I don't get drinks when I order my food. So that's one thing less that I'm consuming. I also no longer can eat, you know, all those portions, but I can't finish one portion. As a matter of fact, during like around the 9-month mark, I went to McAllister's. I think it's like a sandwich, soup sandwich type chain, baked potato type chain or whatever. They're really good. That was my first time there, and I had kind of like a you pick two. I don't know if that's the proper name for it, but I know that's the name for it at Panera. But I think it's called a pick two, and a pick two is half of a sandwich and half of one of their sides. The half of a side I got was a half of a potato, and that potato was massive by my standards. And to finish the half of a sandwich and half of a potato, it took me, I had to eat off that one meal 3 times. Whereas, like I said in the past, that would have been devoured plus some then. So now I would say I can go out to eat and get a meal, and I would eat off that one meal 3 times. So that one meal would now be 3 meals with at the 9-month mark. So that was another big change, you know, in how much I can eat. But I'm in no race or hurry, nor do I ever want to get back to the point of being able to eat like I used to. Like, I don't miss that at all, but it does feel good to be able to go out to a restaurant. And you know, in the past I do feel like I went out to eat too early, but it wasn't because I was going out to eat per se purposely. It would be like someone would ask me to go, or I would go with someone else, and then so I don't, you know, feel awkward, I would order something. But then it would just be like it would be pointless to order something, basically, because it would be like 1 or 2 bites max and I would be stuffed. And usually the waitress, or you know how the managers walk around certain restaurants, they would just be so like concerned. Is everything okay? Did we do something? No, I'm just, you know, you don't want to get into a full story, even though I'm not, you know, embarrassed or anything at all. I have told a few servers before who truly legitimately seemed concerned after my 2 bites. They were just so concerned, like, is it wrong? We'll remake it, because I would ask for like a serving container to put my to-go in after 2 or 3 bites. So they would legitimately be concerned with what's wrong. You didn't eat any of it. We can remake it. And I would tell them. However, now I don't have to go through all that. It just looks like, okay, she is trying to save some of her food. So that was one of another, I guess, change. You know, I can now go out to eat and feel normal. But the meals, one meal now is 3 meals. I guess it's not really a change or anything like that. It's more so of something I've been doing, I guess, since 3 months out. I'm still successfully flip-flopping, or at 9 months I was still successfully flip-flopping between my 2 eating plans, and I'll make more videos about those because I get asked about them so much. But I was still successfully flip-flopping between the bariatric keto and the calorie counting. Both of those are still working fabulously for me, like I said, when I'm being more strict or at this point. And I usually go backwards with my videos because I like to have a visual diary. So right now I'm past the 9-month mark, but I'm going, and when I'm talking backwards. So but right now, meaning past the 10-month mark, I'm doing bariatric keto at this point, because I'm trying to tone up a whole lot. As a matter of fact, I guess you could say at this point I'm probably 11 months out. So I'm going to get ready to make my 12-month or my 1-year surgiversary video very soon. But before I hit my 1 year, I wanted to see what exactly I could accomplish in 1 month's time. So I'm just really being very strict with my eating and my workouts and my nutrition plan and, you know, my consistency. So right now my preferred eating plan is the bariatric keto. However, during 9 months I was still going back and forth, bariatric keto and calorie counting, and they both were working for me. In addition to that, everything is pretty much the same. I'm becoming much more consistent, you know, in many of my habits, and that is such a huge goal for me. And I believe it should be a huge goal for many people in the weight loss and bariatric community, because consistency is so important. You can't, you know, get comfortable, rest on your laurels just because you have VSG. There are so many misconceptions, and to some people, even those who've had it, that is one of those misconceptions, that the new pouch or your new tool or your surgery, whether it be VSG or Roux-en-Y or whatever you've had, whatever form of weight loss surgery you had, you can't totally rely on that as your means of surviving your new lifestyle, or else you're just destined for failure. And so that's why it's really important for me to build my consistency at this point. I know that it's so easy to fall into old habits, and it's really hard to build and learn new habits, but that's something that I'm really trying my hardest to do. And like I said, I've been doing very, very well. I think during my 9-month mark, I'll try to find a picture and insert it from my Instagram, but I think I hit my 100 day of logging in straight into my MyFitnessPal, and that was a big deal for me because I've had my MyFitnessPal for years, but never have I used it consistently as I have been using it as of lately. So consistency is very important for me, and so that was just a milestone that I hit. Sorry, that was my goal. That was another huge milestone that I hit during my 9-month mark. But yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna wrap this video up. I did not mean for it to be this long, so I sincerely apologize. However, if you've already had VSG or any form of weight loss surgery, I would love to know what you experienced if you've reached the 9-month mark, if there were any huge significant milestones. I'd love to know about them. I'd love to know about them or hear from you. Drop them down below. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, comment, all that good stuff if you haven't done so already. And I will talk to you in the next video. Okay, bye.